Hey everyone, it's Adam here. I can't see the guy. We're carrying on with the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Been on a roll reviewing these movies lately, you know. I reviewed the first two Nightmare on Elm Street movies last year. That was a hiatus, but now I've come back to review them. I've reviewed part 3 and part 4. But now we get to part 5. And Nightmare on Elm Street part 5, The Dream Child, which came out in the year of 1989. Just got done watching it moments ago so I can review it. If I've been perfectly honest, I don't really feel like reviewing this movie because, in my opinion, this is the worst one in the franchise. Yes, I mean, a lot of people are going to argue with that fact. You know, people are going to say the second one's the worst one. People are going to say the fourth one's the worst one. People are going to say that Freddy's Dead is the worst one. You know, we've all got our own opinions when it comes to these movies. Well, tough tits. I like part 2. Part 4 took me a lot of warming up to get used to the idea of liking it, but I do like part 4 now. And yes, I even liked Freddy's Dead. Yeah, I like that. But this one, in my opinion, is the worst one of the franchise. I mean, there's so many different things wrong with part 5. Facts speak for themselves. I thought it was Robert Englund's worst performance as Freddy. You know, I'm not saying he did like a horrendous job where you could tell that he wasn't into his character. He just didn't have that much dialogue, you know, bon appetit, bitch, you know, compared to, like, all the other phrases that he had in the other Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Robert Englund even admitted in interviews that he did not like part 5. He thought The Dream Child was the weakest one. And even he admitted that this movie was not good because part 4 was a big hit. And then a year later, Nightmare on Elm Street part 5 comes out, rushed into production, and I was like, hey, you know, number 4 was a success, we need to make a 5th one the following year, so they did, and it just did not quite turn out the way it should have done, because there's so many things in this movie that I thought were a missed opportunity, and I'm going to get to that. Okay, well, basically, there's so many fucked up things. I mean, there's so many things I could have done in this movie that would have made this movie a little bit better than how it turned out. I mean, like I already mentioned, this film came out here in 1989, August 11th of 1989. It did make $2.1 million at the box office on an $8 million budget. I will say that. And this film is on for 90 minutes, so. Lisa Wilcox's character comes back as Alice Johnson. That was one good thing, because I'm a big fan of Lisa Wilcox's character as Alice. Again, I like Nancy Thompson more, you know, and I thought she had a character, had a lot more to do in the first movie compared to part 3. I thought in part 3 she died like in a little bit of dumb faction because she thought her dad was there, John Saxon's character, but he turned to be Freddy in disguise and stabs her. But I thought Alice kicked a lot of ass in part 4. You know, she's one of my likeable characters in the franchise, Alice's character. She's a character that you can look up to. She's got a badass side of her, especially the side of her, which is like back in Freddy Krueger. But in this movie, it seems like she didn't have that much to do in this movie. I reckon I could have given her, like, a lot more things to do. You know, because she's battled Freddy before. Now she can do it again, but they just don't seem to give her that opportunity to face off Freddy, you know, more physically, hands down, basically. I mean, she's still with her boyfriend, Dan. The film opens up with them having sex, and now Alice is pregnant. And Freddy comes back, and he was using the unborn child to get back at his new victims because the baby's asleep, basically. So he's now using the baby, the unborn child, to get back to as his new victims. Now, imagine being in this situation. Imagine if Alice was in a situation where she had to decide whether to kill the baby, abort it, or keep it. Because, hey, there'll be a little bit of a situation where if she keeps the baby, her friends will be out of danger. But if she keeps the baby, her friends will be in danger. I mean, imagine if she was in that situation where she had to choose between a baby and her friends. I mean, I know it's not a nice thing to talk about. I don't agree with abortion. Well, depending on circumstances, that's got nothing to do with it, any of this. Imagine if she was in a situation where she had to choose between a baby and her friends. You know, that would have been like more of an interesting concept to deal with if that came across in a movie like this. That's just my honest opinion. And God, this movie sucks. The kills in this movie were not very interesting. Although I usually do pick a favourite kill out of every single Nightmare on Elm Street. The first Nightmare on Elm Street was definitely going to be Tina's death. The second one had to be Grady's death. In part 3, it probably had to be, well, it definitely is. It's Philip's death. And in my opinion, that was the goriest, most gruesome kill in the franchise. It was my favourite one, you know, where Freddy's like eating like a puppet and he falls from the fucking tower. You know, forced to his death. Part 4 will have to be the bug scene, you know, where Freddy makes her turn into a bug, you know, where he destroys her arms while she's lifting the weights and she turns into a giant bug. But part 5, there's not much to say about the kills. I suppose I'd have to say the motorcycle kill was the best one. You know, where the victim kills on the motorcycle because Freddy turns into a motorcycle and crashes into another vehicle and kills him. There's a scene where he kills this girl because her parents are always saying she's going to watch a figure, she's going to be a model one day. Freddy stuffs her face full of food. Bon appetit, bitch! You know, stuffs her face. There's another one where this kid becomes a comic book character and he's in like comic book land and he gets slashed to pieces by Freddy, like pieces of paper. You know, so when you compare this movie to say something like Part 4, you know, and Part 3, it's definitely a downgrade, you can see it. I mean, I'm watching the film like this, I'm thinking, it's a bit of a slow pace at times, it's a bit boring sometimes. And when you compare it to the first 2 previous movies, you think to yourself, this is a step down. It seems like we're not even trying. I mean, at least in the Dream Warriors, they all work together, you know, as a team, as their own powers to stop Freddy Krueger, and the dream sequences were more interesting in Part 4. You know, with the death elevator scene, the invisible Freddy, classroom scene. Where in this one, it's just more flatter, more of a simple setback. You know. So Alice's character didn't have much to do. I reckon it was Robert Englund's poorest performance. I mean, even he admitted that this movie was like a step down due to being rushed in production. He's even said that. There's so many missed opportunities in this movie that could have took place. We come to a scene in this movie to say that Amanda Kruger's soul must be freed, and she's in the tower. Freddy gets attacked by all these maniacs. He gets ripped apart basically by all these maniacs. The kid Jacob, who was in this movie, who played the unborn child of Alice, he did a fine job. You know, I mean, I don't prefer him to the kid in like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but he did a fine job. He wasn't annoying or anything. He played a good part of his role. He was a good little actor. And I thought they did a fine job of trying to make the place look gothic, you know, with the church sequence and all that kind of thing, you know. But again, Freddy is much more scarier and darker in Part 1 and Part 2, you know. Here he's like full on comedic, and the makeup of Freddy in this one was, in my opinion, the poorest. I mean, a lot of people say the poorest look was in, you know, Freddy's Dead, or some of the other sequences in this franchise, but in my opinion, this was the poorest look of Freddy. Instead of like having like a burnt face, the face seems like really pink and fleshy. So that's one thing I can say about this movie that wasn't very good. I mean, the look of Freddy was like at his poor state. But throughout the movie, I'm just thinking to myself, you know, there's just so much more they could have done, you know, idea-wise for this movie. I mean, we've just got some good endings from Part 3 and Part 4, and Part 2 for that matter. Why not in Part 5 they gave us a little something more, but that just wasn't the case. It felt flatter, it was less interesting, it was less comedic, the dream sequences weren't that good. I mean, I don't despise the movie. I mean, I can't help myself but be... I'm a Freddy fanatic. You know, I've got Freddy tattooed on my arm, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? But I do find it hard to disagree with people when they say this is the worst one in the franchise, because indeed it is the Dream Child. I mean, I've just watched it moments ago, and I feel exactly the same way about the movie now as I did back then when I first watched it. It's a piece of shit. It is. It's a piece of shit. You know. So, the Dream Child. I mean, there's not much more I can say about it, everybody, than all I'm saying is avoid this one. I mean, I've not seen it too many times because I know it's the one that I dislike the most. But again, they could have done well with the sequences. I mean, to tell you the truth, I enjoyed the special features in this movie, on this movie disc, more than the actual movie itself. I mean, in the special editions, we've got, you know, like in part 5, we got commentary by Wes. No, that's Wes Craven's New Nightmare. We got 5 features from Hopkins Direct, Slight Miscalculation, The Sticky Floor, Take the Stairs with the Womb Raiders, and we get 2 music videos, which I really enjoy. I really love the one by the Fat Boys where they say, "Are you ready for Freddy?" I love that music video of Freddy. You know, it's so 80s feel, and you got them 3 fat kids who are going into Freddy Krueger's house to stay, and they're being terrorized by Freddy Krueger. To tell you the truth, I love that music video more than the whole fucking movie. And that's no word of a lie. I think that music video is way more cooler, it's way more catchier than everything they did in part 5, The Dream Child. And that's what God's honest truth. To tell you the truth, I would have wished they would have put that in the actual movie itself and actually made us a movie out of those 3 fat guys, you know what I mean? Are you ready for Freddy? You wake up dead, you know? Really love the music video in that. So if you haven't seen the music video of The Dream Child, about the Fat Boys, Are You Ready for Freddy, please check that out. It's a good little music video. I would have been more interested to see what happens with those guys more than what Alice was up to in part 5, you know, with her unborn baby, basically. So yeah, it's a cheaper concept about Freddy using the unborn child to get back at his victims and all that kind of thing. The fight sequences, there was nothing much to do other than there was like the church fight scene. That was okay. I'd have to say the motorcycle scene was my favourite death scene, but it wasn't like the most creative scene of all time. It was a bit funny seeing Freddy turn into a motorbike. Yeah, far fetched, I know, but it's Freddy. Don't mind, I'll shoot what you expect. And the pool scene was okay, you know, where she goes into the pool and it turns out to be one big trap by Freddy, you know, where she's going forever and all that kind of thing. The look of that baby carriage, which looked like hell on wheels going through Freddy, was okay, but again, there was nothing special in that department either. So I don't know what more I could say, everybody, than about part 5 saying it's the worst one, but it is. But there you have it. I mean, I'm going to wrap this up now and show about this one being short and sweet, everybody, but there's not much more I can say about it. I mean, why the hell would you watch part 5 where you can watch all those different good sequences, I mean, in the different films? Nightmare on Elm Street part 1's a classic. Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, I like. I know people hate that movie, but I like it. The Dream Warriors, the most fun one of the franchise. Number 4, took me a lot of warming up, but I like it. 5, the worst. Freddy's Dead, I like. West Coast New Nightmare, I like. So I can safely say I like all of them apart from this one. So when it comes to me reviewing the other films of the franchise, I'll be a lot more intrigued, you know. So thanks for watching this, everybody. Take a pass on this one. It was the worst entry. Thanks, everyone. Peace out.